Okay, fair enough. Let's also bring in Mayuresh Joshi into the conversation. He's joining us this afternoon. Mayuresh, some of the other numbers included, today's numbers included the likes of Westlife and Colgate, in case you managed to have a chance at them.
Afternoon, Surbhi. So yes, I think the same sales store growth for Westlife was very, very encouraging. Again, I think the management commentary here is going to do the trick because like we saw in the case of Jubilant, the kind of expectations that one really has in terms of a constrained store opening, that obviously abets the SSG growth. But what also it does is that the revenue projections, because of a tighter cost environment, plays out positively for all these stocks. So again, I think good set of numbers by Westlife. In terms of Colgate, again, I think the margin expansion was key. I think they're able to deliver on that front again. The volume story, again, largely more or less in line with estimates, around 12% on that count. But a large element in terms of how the pricing environment will be in terms of the tough competition that it probably faces from Patanjali, specifically on the toothpaste segment, is going to be very, very critical going ahead. In terms of valuations, again, I think fairly valued. That's always been the case for Colgate. So again, I think investors who are probably holding on the stock at lower levels can continue holding on to Colgate right now.
Sure. Okay, so that's IFCI, which is in focus. Of course, the big number of the day is going to be Tata Motors. We're still standing by for those earnings. We have Sonia joining in with a quick heads up on what to expect. Hi, Sonia. So all about JLR, and it's been really volatile last couple of quarters, right? You know, from a weak quarter to a bounce back last time around. What should we be prepared for this time?
Well, this time, everyone's expecting a surprise on the standalone numbers front. And I'll tell you why that's important. Although the standalone numbers contribute less than 10% to the EBITDA, the parent company has been putting a lot of money to fund the standalone business losses. So if the losses recede, then of course that will be a big positive for the company on the whole. But for JLR, as you rightly mentioned, that's the key pocket because 90% of the EBITDA comes from there. We are expecting a fairly muted quarter this time around. The volume growth for Jaguar Land Rover was just about 4.5% on a year-on-year basis. It is a transition transition period for Tata Motors as they move from old Range Rover products to the new ones. So because of that, we've not seen too much of sales over there. Also, they have been giving higher amount of incentives in order to clear out their older inventory. That may impact their margins as well this time around. However, because of the new products like the F-Pace, etc., and a higher share in the Chinese market, you could perhaps see good realizations for the Jaguar Land Rover business. So overall, we're expecting a revenue growth of around 20% odd. The margins, consolidated margins, could improve to 13% versus 9.8% earlier. And in the standalone business, remember, commercial vehicle sales have done very well this quarter for the entire sector. So we've seen a commercial vehicle volume growth of almost 35% for Tata Motors, and that will result in the losses reducing significantly for the company. So I expect a decent showing from the company today.
Okay, Sonia, well, the number should be out any moment, but that's Tata Motors. Mayuresh, your thoughts on the stock?
No, so Anuj, I think as Sonia was mentioning, the JLR numbers should be quite good even on a quarter-on-quarter basis, expecting a 3.5% growth, 158,700 units. The realization would more or less be flattish on a quarter-on-quarter basis. But the standalone numbers, as Sonia was rightly mentioning, is going to do the trick. Though they contribute far lesser in terms of an EBIT contribution of more than 10 or 15% odd. I think the volume growth there is going to be substantial as well. So on a quarter-on-quarter basis, 11% and if it does break even on the profitability front, I think that's going to be a huge respite for the stock. So largely, again, I think undemanding valuations, our cumulative rating probably continues on this one. But it's again dependent on how the Chinese JV operations do. Our own expectations, good volume growth going forward. The F-Pace realization should probably affect the balance sheet in this quarter, but the new Land Rover sale should also probably help in prepping up the volume growth. So yes, I think the cumulative rating continues from our side.
PC Jeweler has managed to get back a little bit of that lost sparkle. Speaking of PC, Mayuresh, what did you make of the whole saga? And for people who've still been holding on to their stocks and wondering what this whole value destruction is all about, what's the recommendation on PC? Any thoughts on Makranji whatsoever?
No thoughts on Makranji, absolutely, Surbhi. But again, I think on PC, what has probably transpired in terms of the treasury shares getting sold with the equity investments that Vakrangi had done into it. And again, the logo probably appearing on Vakrangi's side, the con call which happened, which was an elaborate 15-18 minute con call that the PC management did. Post that, I think the next day the logo just disappeared. And again, I think the management of Vakrangi, as you was hearing on your channel in the morning, clarifying that there was no permanent agreement that was probably in place. Now, if you solely go by numbers and what has transpired to the stock, I think stellar set of numbers that PC has posted, even in terms of the franchisee showrooms or the top line, EBITDA and bottom line growth. I think they're on track to probably post that 20-21% kind of a mark figure in terms of growth, both on the top line and the EBITDA front. When it probably comes to the studded part of their business, 30-35%, which means that the margin protection is there, and the export component also probably doing well as per the transcript. So again, I think investors that probably hold on to PC, my recommendation is they can probably hold on to this stock.